bureaucratic nature of the NHS, which is very system and process and tick box exercise heavy. You're then taking your time, energy, and direction away from the clinical work. The expectations from above will always push harder. The waiting lists are going up and there's more pressure on you to produce more for less resource. And the fact that you're not growing in your medical career. What we, me included, really struggle with is when we see something which we know is obvious how to improve it, but the system does not seem to listen. Welcome to Medics in Control, the podcast for doctors who want more control over their time, money, and direction without leaving medicine. I'm Jamie Gross, and I'm joined by certified money coach, Fanny Snaith. This podcast is about creating the headspace to think more clearly, ask better questions, and build a life of living and working that actually feels aligned. Each week, we talk about the things that sit in the background for a lot of doctors: money, mindset, direction, and that quiet drift that can happen when you're moving from one thing to the next. If you've worked hard to build a career in medicine, but something doesn't quite feel right, you're definitely in the right place. And if you want to go a step further, we've created the Medics in Control Network, which is a space to be part of the conversation with other doctors who are starting to think and live a bit differently. Join us at medicsincontrol.com/Medics in Control-network. Let's get into today's episode.
I hear doctors feeling undervalued, disconnected, all these different, underpaid, overworked, generally a feeling of kind of depletion. And I think it would be worth us having a little bit of a dig into that. And I know that you have suffered burnout in the past. You're a survivor of burnout.
Whatever burnout means. I mean, this is the thing, actually. We don't... burnout actually is... I'm not, as you know, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. There are burnout experts. I only share what my experience of that difficult period was in my life.
I think if we, for the sake of the call, burnout is where you have no option other than to stop. Really. You actually burnt out. I think that, should we use that for the purpose?
Okay, for the purpose of this discussion, obviously we're not being scientific or over medical here. Okay,
no.
All right, fair enough.
So let's take a couple of steps back from that and talk about the word depletion. Because that's not burnt out, is it? That's feeling depleted. Like a loss of energy, loss of purpose, maybe. Let's talk about that. And where does that come from? How does it manifest itself? How do we quantify it, first of all? Is it the number of hours? Is it the kind of work? Is it the exchange, the fair exchange of value?
It's really interesting because I never thought about any of this, and I'm pleased that you brought this up, because looking back at my medical career, I remember when I was a medical student and when I was early in my medical training, I was really, really passionate about medicine. It was something which is interesting. It had variety. You had the opportunity to challenge yourself. You have the opportunity to engage, and you're doing something amazing for other people as well.
Does recognition come in there as well?
Well, I think when you start off as a doctor, listen, I'm not one for necessarily external validation, and that's probably a topic for another time. But there is something quite nice when you've done all that training and you've got that doctor's title. And you have, well, I don't know if it's probably changed over the years, but historically, doctors had a lot of respect. If you said that you're a doctor, that came with a lot of social status and
Yeah.
public respect. Maybe things have changed over time, to be fair.
Like a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly, like a teacher. But the point is, when I was early in my medical training, I was really a really highly motivated and passionate medical student and doctor. And I continued to be that way pretty much throughout the whole of my training. Okay, so I was I just loved it. And even doing night shift didn't really bother me.
Okay.
What I recognized and where the wheels started falling off was actually a few years into being a consultant. And at that point, you become a consultant. Up to that point, everything's very much about the clinical work, the medicine.
Yeah.
But then when I became a consultant, other things started taking priority or precedence.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, it's not about you being a good doctor anymore, because that's almost a given.
Yeah.
It's almost like a baseline expectation. We get that you can do the job, and actually you're a consultant now. So what we expect the consultant role to be is for you to be able to play your part in service design and service delivery,
Yes.
managing the service,
Yeah.
playing a part in the training of other doctors and medical students as well.
Which sounds very exciting to me.
Okay. And being of value to the organization.
Okay.
All right. So this is when things started to unravel for me, because all of a sudden my time, a lot of my time and my priority was away from the clinical side of it. In other words, the reasons why I decided to do medicine in the first place,
Yeah.
onto service delivery, management, and all those other things as well.
Yeah.
Now, what you don't recognize as a trainee is that, unfortunately, because of the system constraints, there isn't the admin support that you get with maybe working for a company in the city. You don't have that. Yes, you have a secretary, but it's a departmental secretary. You have to, there isn't that admin support. And then when you look at being totally honest, the bureaucratic nature of the NHS, which is very system and process and tick box exercise heavy,
Yeah.
which a lot of it you could argue relates to admin.
Yeah.
You're then taking your time, energy, and direction away from the clinical work
Yeah.
onto those tasks and activities that have less perceived value to you.
So you're coming away from the coalface, as it were.
Yeah, not completely, because you're still dealing with it, but the coalface is different. So instead of like doing some of the clinical work, you're still doing some of the clinical work, but you're having to respond to complaints, and you're having to review situations where there may have been a unfavorable outcome, and it's gone to some sort of what we call a serious incident, and it's gone through a whole review process. You've got to be part of that. Maybe you're invited to be part of a panel of that. You might have to go to the coroner's court because everyone needs to have a legally certified cause of death, and in some situations that cause of death may be scrutinized or a bit unclear, and you have to maybe go to the coroner's inquest. All of those sort of things, which you're largely protected as a trainee, you've got to start doing as a consultant. But there's a few other things I just want to mention before we move this conversation on, because I think it's important. The other thing to say is that in my experience, there seems to be a situation where there is increased expectation that's put on doctors from whether it be the government or the organization, because they're trying to drive specific targets without the extra funding or resources, because we all know that resources in the NHS are very stretched. So then, but the targets still remain. And in fact, the targets seem to keep on increasing, which puts added pressure on the workforce. And therefore the expectation goes up as well. And in addition to that, once you've got a level of seniority and you've been doing medicine in your particular specialty for a number of years, everything becomes very, not monotonous, that's probably the wrong word, but everything comes very samey. You're coming to work, you've got your, like, for example, I do an orthopedic list every Friday as an anaesthetist. And I've got the same types of anesthetics time and time again, which is anesthesia relating to knee replacement surgery or hip replacement surgery, which I still enjoy. But the thing is, it's just the same old day in, day out. Now, of course, that's probably the same with any job. But the issue that you have is that where is that growth opportunity? And I think this is what undid me. This is why I started to feel frustrated as a consultant, because first of all, more of my time was directed, my time, energy, and focus was taken away from the clinical work towards more of the managerial side, which is very difficult to escape from as a senior doctor. The expectations from above were always push harder. That's how it felt. I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but that's how it feels, particularly when the waiting lists are going up and there's more pressure on you to produce more for the same or less resource. And the fact that you're not growing in your medical career, because when you're starting off as a trainee doctor, you're developing skills and you're seeing things for the first time. Just like with a child, when they've seen something which we think is, we went on a caravan trip a few weeks ago to the Isle of Wight, and my kids have never stayed in a caravan, and they were really excited about it. Okay, it's just that playfulness that when you're seeing things, it's a novelty factor, isn't it? When you're seeing things that are fresh for the first time, you're finding interest in that. You're taking interest. You feel motivated to learn more. All of that stuff. So I think all of that as combination is probably why so many doctors feel drained.
So can I ask a question then?
Yeah.
Where's the sweet spot? Is it that you stay as a trainee?
Well, it can't be, can it? Because you can't be a trainee forever. The sweet spot, that's a very, very good question. I think really, I don't like giving advice to anyone. I only go with what I see myself, and I look at patterns. And what it really, for me, it really boils down to is what actually is it that you are motivated and passionate about? Okay, and that's going to look different for different people. So, and then obviously we're doing the Doctor's Breakthrough Program, and we'll look at this in a bit more detail. So we're looking, for example, at core values and purpose. Okay, what is your core values? So really, your core values are very much what is your North Star? What are those characteristics that describes who you are? And what feels most naturally aligned, and your higher purpose is what is it? What is the meaning of life? What is it that you want to achieve or aspire to in your life? How do you want to contribute to society? And well, hang on, hear me out for a minute. And the thing is, what I see is when we're out of alignment with those core values and purpose, all of a sudden the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, it feels draining, but when we're in alignment, it feels energizing.
Okay, I get that, and I get that, and I know also that one of your big core values is growth.
Yeah, okay.
It's not everybody's. But, no. So I'm not going to say I'm not buying it, but I'm going to challenge it a little bit.
Yeah, go on, absolutely, go for it.
Because me training to become a money coach, right? There's loads of stuff that I can learn about money, but after a while, with the kind of people that I see, I can see patterns coming up. It's sort of similar patterns over and over. I'm not going to say everybody's the same, because of course they're not, but I see similar patterns. But I continue to enjoy my job, and I'm going to say, obviously, you're doing your anaesthetism, and you're doing hip replacements and knee replacements. but Fred Bloggs is going to be slightly different than James Black and all that kind of stuff. Each patent's going to be slightly different, and slightly different things that can happen. So,
no, don't get me wrong. I still enjoy that part of the job.
Right.
But if it's just that every single day, for me, that's an issue. So I'm very come into work on Friday, do that that's my Friday. No issues whatsoever.
I get that. I suppose what I'm going to have to ask you to do is to put yourself in the non-growth shoes just for a minute. That growth isn't, because we want to talk to a lot of people here, right? We're not. I know it's just you and I talking, but not everybody's North Star is going to be growth.
Okay.
And yet we seem to have a heck of a lot of depleted doctors. We could say that of all the depleted doctors, growth is their North Star, and in which case that's why they're out of alignment. But I don't necessarily buy that. I think there's something else going on here. And I know that, doing the admin, I have to do all my admin. My God, the amount of admin I have to do to do hypnotherapy, to have clients and all that kind of stuff. It's like, give code numbers to patients and keep things in a locked folder and all this kind of stuff, which is terribly, terribly tedious. But that's sort of the thing that I took on when I took on this role. And I then try and find as many systems as I can to try and get it done as efficiently as possible. Maybe there's one thing that within the great machine of the NHS there aren't any other systems, and you've got to do what they say you've got to do, and you can't do it your way. But I'm just still not feeling that I'm coming to the root of what this depletion is.
Yeah, well, there's something that we haven't spoken about yet, and that's this issue what I like to call cognitive dissonance. In fact, I spoke to a cardiologist a few months ago. They were talking about they call it a TAVI service. So I don't know what you know. Some people will, some people won't know what a TAVI is. A TAVI is a specific type of minimally invasive aortic valve surgery of the heart. Okay. And what happened in this situation is this particular consultant had some really great ideas about what was needed to improve this TAVI service in a way that is going to really serve the local population and in a way that everyone's going to be happy with. And instead of listening to their opinion and getting them to lead on that, the particular organization decided, or the department decided, to employ a manager that didn't have quite the same level of clinical experience and decide to design it in their own way, which is very, very different to what that particular doctor thought needed to happen. So in other words, what we're saying by when I say cognitive dissonance is when you see how the service is and what's actually happening is different from your expectations of what should be happening, that in itself brings a lot of psychological discomfort and sometimes stress. Because doctors, one thing that is quite clear is most of them are very passionate and care deeply about things. And what we, me included, really struggle with is when we see something which really we know is obvious how to improve it, but the system does not seem to listen to do that, then that in itself is really not only frustrating, but over time it can be draining as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like the same thing as if I'm going to build an IKEA chest of drawers, and there's an electric screwdriver sitting there, and they've gone, no, you've got to use the manual one. That's frustrating. That would make
yes and no. There's a bit of a difference there because your end goal is still going to be the same. You're still going to be able to build that chest of drawers.
You can't do it efficiently.
How about this? How about using your analogy of the chest of drawers? Not only are you not allowed to use the electric screwdriver, but the end result is going to be something which is going to the drawers are going to be wonky and it's just not going to look very good.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So that sounds to me a lot more plausible than I've become a consultant and I don't want to do the admin. I'm not. I did.
Oh no, absolutely. I don't think this is just a one-off. I don't think this is a one-off
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
I don't think you can, and also we're all different. Okay, so I can only talk about my experience, and my experience is very personal to me. Now, let's also not forget the fact that there are some consultants out there, and not just consultants, all doctors who are really happy with their careers and they really enjoy going to work every day.
There are.
But one thing that has occurred to me is, and this is probably an invitation to anyone that's listening to this. My litmus test for all of this is, how do you feel when the alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m? Are you someone that is out of bed, you're really loving life, you're passionate about things, you're getting ready straight away, and you're really excited to see what the day brings?
Yeah.
Or are you someone that goes straight for the snooze button? You know that you have to get up and get your day started at some point, but you just want another 10 minutes in bed because you're already drained from the week already, and you just don't want to get the day started. So the question is, what camp do you sit in? Are you someone that's truly passionate about your work, in which case,
And your
great.
life.
Sorry,
And
your life, in which case, great. Or is it draining for you? And if it's draining for you, there's nothing wrong, because feelings are feelings. The question is, though, is start to become curious. Well, what actually is going on here?
Yeah.
What is causing that?
Yeah, and something needs, and it's your body waving a little white flag saying something needs to change.
Yeah, well, something needs to change. Well, yeah, something. That's probably a step forward. The first thing is something doesn't feel quite aligned here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. So I could understand that would be extremely frustrating and very depleting.
Well, the interesting thing, one other thing to say is that when you're, if you look at the two categories of energizing versus depletion, let's supposing, I know it's not binary, but let's supposing all of the tasks and the activities that we do every single day, we're going to put it into one of those buckets. Mm-hmm. Let's supposing you could spend 10 minutes doing something which is draining, or 6 hours doing something that's energizing.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, after the 10 minutes of draining stuff, you're going to feel more wiped out than the 6 hours of energizing stuff.
Mm-hmm. With depending on my attitude towards the draining stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
Well, yes, but the thing is, I mean, you've got the insight and awareness. A lot of people aren't at that stage yet. So we're often very reactive to our environments and the people around us and everything else, and our situations. But the point is, I think the first thing is to actually, first of all, take a step back and think to yourself, well, how am I feeling on a day-to-day basis? If I'm feeling drained, then there's obviously something which is causing that to happen. Yeah. And the first thing is to start getting curious as to really trying to understand, why is that? From my own personal experience, as I say, you're right. Growth is a strong core value of mine. If I'm not growing, then I get really itchy feet. That's the reason why I run all these marathons. That's the reason why I went to do a master's degree as a consultant in palliative care, because I wanted to grow. I wanted to do something different. That's why we're doing the work with Medics in Control, because it's amazing for growth. So that feeds that. From the other point of view is stagnation, doing the same old routine day in, day out. I suppose that does relate to growth. The other thing is knowing that you want to give, and knowing what you think should happen, but then either not being listened to or things being imposed. Actually, forget about what you think. We don't really care about what you think. The service is going to be this way, and you just got to like it or lump it. And then the other thing as well is doing things which are of perceived low value. So how many meetings does the NHS have? Do they all need to happen? A lot of doctors are getting caught up in doing all. In fact, it's not even optional. We all have to do appraisals every year. With that, you have to maintain a portfolio and show various competencies and show evidence of our CPD activities and things like that, which all sounds very nice and it all sounds very good on paper, but realistically, most this is largely regarded as a tick box exercise and a bit pointless, but we have to do it to jump through the hoops. Now that in itself, that's really frustrating for a lot of colleagues, including myself.
On top of the fact that you're maybe not being able to perform to the best of your ability due to the system.
Well, the system, don't forget, if we're looking at every little frustration, frustrations compound, don't they? So let's supposing you get a situation where you're feeling maybe a bit stagnated or maybe everything's a bit routine, number one. Number two, you're not listened to.
Yes, excuse me, sorry.
That's okay. Number two, you're not listened to. Number three, you have to do a lot of the admin stuff in your spare time. Number four, you've got requests coming out of your ears to respond to a complaint or someone said something to you and you've picked up on it and it's caused an unwarranted feeling. All of these things happen every single day, all the time, and over time they do compound. And this is what I think causes me causes a lot of stress over time.
Yeah, and I can understand that. And I've heard people tell me about shifts being moved around due to sickness because more and more doctors going off sick because they depleted, burnt out.
I mean, this is a problem, isn't it? Because if this is genuine, listen, I'm only talking from my own experience. I can also talk about the conversations I've had with now a good few hundred doctors.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that what I'm saying is completely universal because, as I say, it's not as straightforward as that. But if these are genuine issues, which is responsible or partially responsible for what we call burning out doctors, which as a result or as a consequence leads to more doctors going off sick, more people leaving medicine altogether or retiring early, then this is something that the government have to listen to, because you're quite right. Generally speaking, the service is stretched. And the service is stretched because there are chronic staff shortages, which means that the people that are left over have to carry the can and they have to make it up. And then all of a sudden you get a new government that comes in, they're putting new targets in, but they're not going to give you any extra money to complete those targets. It's not surprising. Yeah. The doctors that are there, and not just doctors, other nurses and other allied health professionals, they're doing their best.
Yeah.
But without the extra fund, you can't expect that the government can't expect to be putting on more pressure and higher expectations on those people, because people will break at the end of the day. And then what then happens? Things just get worse.
Exactly. So as a coach, obviously I've got all these questions that are coming up, like going, what are the solutions? This isn't the time to talk about this because obviously we're coming to the end of our time today, and it's definitely another podcast as to what do we, so what's the solution then? Here you are. Do you just leave medicine, or what can we do I think we really need to cover that topic in a later podcast.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Are we happy to put the drum down and say that we're not being mini moaners and please come to my pity party, and the fact that this is a real problem? Because in the previous podcast that we've done, we talked about the doctor's strike, and we actually covered the fact, or we talked about the fact that it's not just about the money, but the general public don't seem to know that it's not just about the money. This is a very, 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 very important part of it. So I think, so final question for me. Do you think that you have covered as many areas as you can, if not all of the areas, as to where this depletion is coming out? Or do you think there are some more? I would honestly ask, if anybody's listening to this and there are other areas of depletion that are coming to mind, please tell us, because we really want to know.
The other thing we've talked about is the frustration relating to... Now, listen, it's very topical. We've spoken about it already, but the issue about pay, where maybe some doctors are more financially stretched than what they thought that they would be at that particular stage of their career. Because let's face it, when you get older, yes, you get paid more money, but the more money you get paid, the more taxes you have to pay. But then also what people don't recognize, and what I didn't recognize, is how much it costs when you start families and you start having kids, and you didn't have to go away on school holiday time and pay £10,000 for a family holiday, all of those sort of things. So that is certainly another thing as well. The other thing I would also argue is the culture of medicine has changed. When I started as a house officer back in 2004, I was in Liverpool, and we had an amazing doctor's mess where either after a shift or even during an on-call shift, we used to have lunch, we used to work in firms. So you had your consultant, you had a registrar's, SHO's, house officer, and you all used to do the on-calls together. So there used to be that real more social side of medicine, where we used to exchange our experiences of that particular work day.
That community feel.
That community feel, that's completely been gone. I mean, the doctors' messes have all but gone away. Everything is more shift-based. And also, I'll be honest with you, because of the way the medical workforce feels, people don't want to hang around as much as they used to. They want to go home because they want to put the work side into a corner and forget about it. Well, that's my experience of having spoken to people anyway. So that social side, it is also an issue which is now lacking. I mean, even in our hospital, unfortunately, we had a social club which was knocked down a few years ago, and that bit of land was sold for a flat, an apartment development which is now being built. So, I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but that's just one example of that social thing being gone away. And I think all of these, I don't think there's any specific one point, but I think all of these in combination are causing doctors to feel the way they do.
I'm not hearing much fun.
No, there isn't much fun, but I suppose the question is, as you say, this isn't about saying, this is not a pity party. This is not about saying, oh, we're so hard done by. I suppose what we need to start doing and is, first of all, recognising the situations. And the purpose of this particular episode, I suppose, was to really give people maybe a little bit of insight, but it might not be front of mind. So really give people the opportunity to get curious and explore, okay, how are you feeling? If you're feeling a bit depleted,
really, very much so.
Okay, have a think about what we've said on this thing, because the next thing, and again, it's probably for another episode, is to really describe, okay, now we know what's causing us to be frustrated, what can we do about it?
Then what? Exactly. Then what?
And a lot of that relates to how we manage our thoughts and what we do with them.
Doesn't work. Put up and shut up doesn't work.
No, put up and shut. Keep calm, carry on, which is often what we are told to do.
Yeah. Doesn't work. I don't think that's quite the same as keep calm and carry on. I think I mean, I'm not going to nitpick, but I see a lot of. I've spoken to quite a few doctors now that put a happy sticker over an empty fuel tank.
Right.
And that's never going to last.
No. I think the important thing, and we probably have to finish quite soon, unfortunately. Yeah. I could talk about this for hours, to be fair. I think the important thing is whatever feelings you're getting, they're not wrong. Okay, and it's important that we don't suppress them and ignore them and sweep them under the carpet and hope they go away.
Yeah.
And actually, we also need to be mindful of not judging colleagues. Let's suppose we are really passionate about things, life's going well for us, and then we've got other colleagues that are not in that way, and they're not very happy, and they're a bit frustrated, they're a bit stressed, or even they may be perceived as being a bit whingy or a bit moany. We have to be careful not to judge them, because we don't know. No. We're all different, and we don't know what's occurring for someone else. So just to say, all doctors, they all need to just get on with it and stop complaining. I don't think that's the right approach. I think we have to respect everyone. Everyone's got different opinions, but everyone's also got different feelings, and they react to the environment in different ways. The important thing for me, you don't want to be suppressing anything. The question then is, once you're feeling depleted, what is going on? What's causing that? And then the next question is what you do about it.
Yeah. And that's all to come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hope that's been helpful, and I hope that hasn't left people hanging
I think
with anything.
I don't think it has. I think what's really good about it is it's opened the door to, if there's somebody sitting here listening to this who just feels ugh about it all, that's just like the descriptive way. I think it will open the door to curiosity for them to actually go, right, what actually is it? And, maybe out comes the notepad and you have an absolute scroll of list of things and another thing and another thing and another thing, and get them all out so you can see what you're dealing with. But whilst there's just a general feeling of depletion, what can you do with that? It's difficult to know what to do with it on its own. It needs some kind of exploration, curiosity sprinkled on it to try and come to some solution, and not just dust yourself down and get on with things.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's listening to this and there's something that they kind of get, but that maybe there's another thing that we haven't even discussed, and I would invite anyone to get in contact, share in the comments, and actually let's all recognize this. And once we're all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, then we can start supporting each other. Because what we're really about is to create meaningful solutions for people that do feel this way. So, because we want a revitalized and energized workforce.
We definitely do. I want doctors to be there, happy and cheerful and keen when something happens to me or one of my loved ones.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Brilliant.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Fanny.
As always.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Medics in Control. If this episode resonated, feel free to follow the podcast or share it with someone else in medicine who might get something from it. And if you'd like to explore more, you can join the Medics in Control network, www.medicsincontrol.com/Medics in Control-network. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next episode.